The Miami Grand Prix may have concluded with champagne showers and smiles on the podium, but the controversy was just getting started. In a dramatic turn of events after the race, Red Bull Racing and Max Verstappen submitted an official complaint to the FIA, alleging misconduct by Mercedes driver George Russell. The issue? Red Bull claimed that Russell did not sufficiently reduce his speed under double yellow flags, waved when Oliver Bearman's Haas broke down, prompting a virtual safety car. That moment proved critical. During the VSC, Russell dove into the pits and managed to rejoin the race ahead of Verstappen by just 2 seconds, clinching third place and leaving the defending champion in fourth. Verstappen, suspicious of the timing, immediately questioned the legality of Russell's move over the team radio, sparking a formal protest from Red Bull. It was a perfect storm of high-stakes drama, just the kind Formula One thrives on. Top drivers and teams locked in a battle not just on track, but also in the steward's office. Red Bull's protest cited a regulation from the International Sporting Code, which mandates a substantial reduction in speed when double yellow flags are displayed. They argued that Russell had failed to slow down enough, potentially violating the rule and gaining an unfair strategic edge. But after reviewing the data, the FIA dismissed the protest. The decision? No penalty, case closed, or so it seemed. For fans who revel in the behind-the-scenes politics and rulebook technicalities of Formula One, this incident adds another layer to an already intense season. To fully understand the implications, we need to rewind to the race itself. A Grand Prix shaped by scorching heat, severe tire wear, and incredibly tight margins. As the laps dwindled, Russell and Verstappen were locked in a tense fight for the final podium spot. The two McLarens had already pulled clear, but the battle for third was far from over, and ultimately decided by a single pit stop under controversial conditions. If you're intrigued by the chess game that is F1, where strategy, split-second decisions, and technicalities collide, then keep watching. This is the kind of moment that can shift momentum in a championship race. Hold on. Did you know that 99% of you watching right now aren't subscribed? If you enjoy my content and want to see more, please hit that subscribe button. It takes just a second, but it means the world to me and helps keep this channel going. Join the family and let's grow together. Now back to the story. The battle for third place was far from over, and what happened next would ignite one of the most talked about moments of the race. On lap 28, drama struck when Oliver Bearman's Haas suffered a mechanical failure, forcing him to pull off just beyond the racing line. The race was instantly neutralized under a virtual safety car, VSC, the third one of the day. And in that moment, everything changed. George Russell, running just behind the incident zone, spotted the yellow flags and made a split-second call. He dove into the pits for a fresh set of medium tires. Under VSC conditions, pit stops cost far less time than usual, and that well-timed stop put Russell back on track, crucially ahead of Max Verstappen. That move would go on to secure Russell the final spot on the podium. But it didn't come without scrutiny. Back on the Red Bull pit wall and inside Verstappen's cockpit, alarm bells went off. Verstappen immediately got on the radio, questioning whether Russell had slowed down appropriately for the yellow flags. This wasn't just frustration, it was a calculated implication. That radio message would become the first move in a chain reaction, leading to an official protest after the race. To understand the depth of the controversy, we need to dive into the rules. Specifically, Appendix H of the FIA's International Sporting Code. The regulation makes it clear, when double yellow flags are displayed, drivers must reduce speed significantly and be prepared to change direction or come to a stop if needed. The controversy hinges on that phrase, reduce speed significantly. But how is significant defined? And who decides what qualifies? Red Bull argued that Russell's reaction didn't meet that standard. While onboard footage and telemetry confirmed he lifted off the throttle, they claimed it didn't result in an actual reduction in speed through the yellow flag sector. Essentially, they alleged that Russell appeared to comply without materially slowing down. Their evidence? A direct comparison to Verstappen's own behavior in the same zone. According to Red Bull, Max slowed more clearly, offering a de facto benchmark for proper compliance, while Russell's lift looked more like a strategic maneuver to satisfy the rule on paper without sacrificing pace. Mercedes, on the other hand, had their own interpretation. They pointed to telemetry data showing that Russell lifted the throttle by about 25%, which they said caused a 30% drop in engine torque. To them, that clearly qualified as a significant reduction in accordance with the rules. They also emphasized that Russell's reaction was consistent with how other drivers behaved in similar situations, and argued that in Formula One, it's standard practice for drivers to demonstrate compliance by lifting the throttle, not necessarily by dropping to a dramatically lower speed. Ultimately, Mercedes leaned on precedent and data to make their case, while Red Bull argued from principle and relative performance. This wasn't just a disagreement over racecraft. It was a philosophical clash about how rules are interpreted, enforced, and exploited in the razor-thin margins of elite motorsport. Mercedes stood firm in their defense, arguing that the protocol regarding yellow flags has long been understood between teams and the FIA. Unless a driver completely ignores the warning and stays flat out, even a measurable lift off the throttle is generally seen as sufficient. That interpretation set the stage for the FIA to weigh in, and their verdict could reshape how similar incidents are judged going forward. The stewards carefully reviewed all available data: onboard footage, multiple camera angles, sector splits, throttle and torque traces, and GPS positioning. Their conclusion? George Russell had lifted enough to show he recognized and respected the yellow flag condition, even if his overall speed through that section had technically increased. This detail became central to the FIA's reasoning. They clarified that a significant speed reduction isn't strictly defined by raw numbers, but rather by how much slower a car is compared to its typical racing speed in that exact area. For instance, in a natural braking zone, drivers will slow down under normal racing conditions, even with green flags. So just measuring how much a car decelerates isn't enough. Instead, the FIA emphasized contextual speed reduction as the real standard. In their words, car 63, Russell, was notably slower through the yellow zone compared to his usual pace, even if his absolute speed ticked up slightly. What matters, they argued, is not whether the speed decreased on a stopwatch, but whether the driver lifted relative to racing conditions in that sector. In short, the stewards prioritized situational awareness over a rigid numerical threshold. It was a decision rooted in nuance, not hard data lines. But that ruling may have opened a Pandora's box. Though Red Bull's protest was dismissed, they successfully shined a spotlight on a blurry part of the rulebook. Reduce speed significantly is still a phrase open to interpretation. And now that the FIA has ruled in favor of a contextual approach, there's room for drivers to exploit that flexibility. If a 25% throttle lift is seen as enough, even if it doesn't translate to visible deceleration, drivers might now be more inclined to ride the edge of compliance, especially if the cost of overslowing is losing track position. And that raises another question. Did Verstappen, by being more cautious and reducing speed more dramatically, actually cost himself time unnecessarily? In that light, the real problem may not be Russell's actions, it's the vagueness of the rule itself. There's also a political angle here. Red Bull's protest wasn't just about winning or losing this one battle, it was a signal to Mercedes, to the FIA, and to the rest of the paddock that they're watching every move. Even in defeat, it applies pressure and potentially sways how future cases are assessed. So where does that leave us? Was George Russell fortunate to hold on to his podium? Did the FIA apply the rule correctly? Comments below. And will this interpretation change how drivers approach? Don't forget to click on the video that's popping up on your screen right now. Let me know what you think. And don't forget to subscribe my channel. The next F1 controversy might be just around the corner.